Hey guys, today I'm going to explain a 2015 movie named Air. The movie opens up with the US president announcing to the nation that his administration is doing everything possible to ensure that their way of living continues. He assures that the priority is to ensure the safety of all the American citizens. It is then revealed that a biochemical weapons-related disaster has wiped out all of the majority of humanity and rendered the air unbreathable. Due to this, the United States government seems to have hastily constructed a few makeshift underground bunkers where some scientists are kept in psychogenic sleep until and unless the air is no longer toxic. Each bunker is maintained by a couple of workers who are awakened for 2 hours every 6 months. In the next scene, we're introduced to two workers at one such facility named Barr and Cartwright. Barr wakes up from his slumber and glides out of his pod, feeling nauseous. Being an engineer by profession, he begins to examine some computer displays before a co-worker, Cartwright, wakes in. Following this, the two go for their normal list of tasks during one wake cycle. They inspect the air quality above and note that it is still toxic. They also notice that the workers from other facilities have already checked in. However, the communication between the facilities does not appear to be feasible. Cartwright examines photographs of his friends and family before Barr reminds him that they are all deceased. Barr then hands him some data to examine, only to discover that there has been seismic activity. As a result, they go to check on the other sleepers to make sure everything is okay. In the middle of all this, Cartwright looks at a photograph of his wife, Abby, and a hallucination that she is beside him. The vision of his wife prompts him to talk to her, but Barr is not pleased with this distraction. Cartwright believes that the sleepers are all still alive and that this is the future of humanity. He has even developed a formula to determine how long they should stay. Based on his calculations, he predicts that they may need to remain asleep for at least 20 more shifts. However, Barr whines that the two of them are squandering their lives for the sake of sleepers' survival. Just before the 2 hours are up, unfortunately, Cartwright's sleeping chamber catches fire as a result of recent seismic activity. He screams for Barr to bring the fire extinguisher, but by the time he manages to put out the fire, the sleeping pod has been destroyed. Barr also injures his hand in the process. As the stopwatch reaches 0, the lights go out and the air supply is cut off. With the help of a torchlight, Cartwright reads the manual and learns that there is an emergency override. The two of them frantically search for an emergency air supply valve and eventually manage to locate it and turn it on. As the duo waits for air supply to kick in, they share personal details about themselves. Barr admits to having a wife and 3 daughters, and because one of the requirements for the job was to be unmarried, he chooses to lie. Shortly after, the power is restored and reserve air supply is turned on, and the clock is reset to another 2 hours. Without further ado, the two proceeds to the storeroom and search for a spare chamber. Sadly, they don't find one, and they're forced to look for another storage facility. With the help of a map, they walk to the basement despite the fact that Cartwright is severely claustrophobic. Fortunately, their hard work pays off as they're able to find a spare chamber, which they bring back to the facility and set up. When it's finished, Cartwright suggests that they should go to sleep first in case there is any issues. However, he stalls for a few moments as Barr decides to go inside. Just as the pod activates, Barr hears a leaking sound and realizes that the air inside is thinning out. As Cartwright goes to check on it, Barr desperately screams to be let out, but Cartwright doesn't hear him. Suddenly, the chamber malfunctions and sucks Barr down, causing him to suffocate. He's about to die a painful death when Cartwright arrives to nick of time and frees him by cutting him. However, in the process, he also destroys the chamber. Now there is no more spare chambers in the facility. Barr insists that they inject a random sleeping person in order to free up a chamber. Cartwright refuses, stating that it is obliged to look after those people and keep them alive. However, Barr argues that they should prioritize their own survival over others. Cartwright finally gives in and considers using morphine to euthanize one of the sleepers. But right then, he has another hallucination of Abby, who convinces him that there must be another way. Seeing his hesitation, Barr decides to do it himself, but Cartwright stops him, saying that they are not murderers. This leads to a minor physical altercation, which ends after both of them get exhausted. Subsequently, they examine the blueprints and discover a code ABC that belongs to another facility. Cartwright believes that the ABC facility is adjacent to theirs and may contain spare parts. Hearing this, Barr warns that reaching it would necessitate breaking the air seal, potentially releasing toxic air. The duo knows that the mission is a risky one, but it is something they have to complete. Hence, with no other options available, Cartwright dons a hazmat suit and exits the facility, with Barr providing guidance over the radio. Along the way, Cartwright enters a significant amount of blue dust, which Barr identifies as airborne impurity. The latter also fixes some cameras, which makes navigation easy for them. In the next scene, Cartwright finds the entrance to the sister facility, but finds that the lock is jammed. However, with some advice from Barr, he eventually manages to gain entry. Inside, he shockingly discovers that the facility has been inactive for a considerable time and that everyone there is deceased. This makes Cartwright hopeful that his chance of survival. Just then, he's another hallucination of Abby. She motivates him to stay strong and persevere till the last breath. Meanwhile, Barr directs him to an air duct located about 10 yards away. Cartwright is initially hesitant to enter the duct due to a claustrophobia, but he has no other option. As he makes it inside his way, he comes across numerous dead bodies, adding to the difficulty of the situation. The radio signals also begin to weaken as he further proceeds, so Barr attempts to boost it up. He looks for a knife and finds it in the toolbox rather where he left it earlier. This raises his suspicion, so he decides to check the video footage and determine how the knife ended up there. After reviewing the footage, he shockingly discovers that Cartwright was standing next to him the entire time when he was suffocating in the spare chamber. This indicates that the latter may have attempted to kill him, but changed his mind at the last minute. Meanwhile, Cartwright senses that something is wrong. He finally makes his way to the facility and starts to look around. The ceiling opens onto the planet's surface, and as he looks out, he sees that the city has been demolished by a nuclear bomb. Cartwright assumes that this must have been occurring a long time ago. After this, he is exploring the area. He discovers that the sleepers' chambers have all been destroyed. Despite the computer system reporting all the workers in the facility as alive and well being previous wake cycled, it seems to be a deception as to maintain their sanity and make them believe that they are not alone. Barr, who is devastated by the video footage, expresses the entire system is a lie and that no one can be trusted. Cartwright also starts to believe that they might be the only ones who survived. Now he's running low on air. He heads back to his own facility. He reaches the door and initiates the decontamination process. On the other side of the door, he sees Barr holding the knife and asking where he found it. Cartwright realizes that Barr is aware of the truth, so he asks to let it in so that he can explain. However, Barr becomes furious and points the gun to Cartwright, accusing him of trying to kill him. He also regards Cartwright as a threat to both him as well as the sleepers. When Barr refuses to let him in, Cartwright, who is running out of air, rushes back to the ABC facility. At one point, he is lost as he cannot find his way out. At the same time, he experiences another vision of his wife, who points him in the direction of the air ducts. In the middle of all this, Barr berates him over the radio, saying that the betrayal and lies hurt him the most. However, Cartwright simply ignores him and continues on his path, leading him back to his own facility. He removes his hazmat suit and tries to head inside the facility's control room, but Barr blocks his way with a gun, threatening to shoot him. Cartwright quickly takes cover and tries to reason with him, emphasizing that they might be the only ones alive. Regardless, Barr continues to pursue Cartwright throughout the facility, claiming that he cannot let him go because he's afraid he might kill him in his sleep. Eventually, after a prolonged chase, Cartwright manages to find refuge in the medical bay, where he obtains some morphine. He thinks of using it as a murder for his co-worker, but then again he starts having cold feet. While Cartwright is deliberating, Abby appears in front of him and urges him to kill Barr, or else he will. She convinces him that he must do it in order for them to be together in the future. Following Abby's encouragement, Cartwright returns to the control room carrying a gas bottle, but suddenly Barr appears from behind and shoots him on the shoulder. As Cartwright lies on the ground bleeding, he shows Barr a photo and pleads for mercy. During this, he also begins to talk to Abby, but Barr yells that there is no one there. In a moment of distraction, Cartwright seizes the opportunity and attacks Barr, causing him to drop the gun. He then runs out of the control room before any further damage is done. Meanwhile, Barr picks up the photograph, walks to the sleeper pod, and finds its match. After realizing that Cartwright's wife is one of the sleepers, he threatens him to come out, or else he will kill Abby. The situation becomes very precautious, but Cartwright finally gains the upper hand by sneaking up on him. He starts injecting a large dose of morphine on him. Barr turns around and points the gun at Cartwright, but he soon holds it down and drops the floor. As the morphine starts to take control over his body, Barr accepts its fate and makes peace with Cartwright. He asks his co-worker to take care of his wife while passing out forever. Following this, Cartwright goes inside a sleeping pod, and before entering Kyra's sleep, he talks to himself, but he is now the only one left keeping the place functional. In an epilogue, Cartwright wakes up from another cycle, but this time he appears to have aged by many decades. The sleepers' pods are also open, one by one, as the facility system automatically wakes them up. All of them exit their chambers and make their way to the Earth's surface, including Abby. The movie ends as Cartwright approaches his wife, and they share a tearful embrace, finally reunited after those years. I hope you liked the video, and if you liked the video, subscribe for more, and thanks for watching.